Sunshine.
We already done.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Oh, yeah.
Rose, I asked his
She's not shy about them.
always made me want me to learn. Such a great master taught for a while. And he said, good judgment. Oh, thank you, Master. He bowed again, and then he said, how do I achieve good judgment? And the Master said, bad judgment. That story came from Robert Brumman's book, Living Originally, 10 Spiritual Practices for Transformation, to transform your life, excuse me. This is the book that we're using for an ongoing book study over the next couple of months. Let's take a little bit of review because we've had a couple of Sunday lessons and we've read a little ways into it. So let's review a little bit. The word original, we think something original, one of a kind, maybe something priceless like a work of art. But the author of this book says that it's different than that. Living originally is living from our origin, that Christ nature, our Christ light, that big, great love within us all. When we learned about transformation early on in the chapters. Transformation is different than self-help. Many of us get books and take classes and do lots of self-help thing, but transformation is a little bit different, lots deeper. It's almost a change in identity, changing your worldview, a shift, a total shift in consciousness. It's a powerful spiritual awakening. Transformation can happen to you in an instant, but more often transformation takes time. It happens over time. It's an unfolding spiritual journey. That's what transformation is about in unity. We focused on self-awareness a couple weeks ago, and that's the last chapter we read. And that was about being aware of our present moment, being aware of our thoughts and our body sensations and our belief systems. And remember, I brought in some rose-colored glasses if you were here. I said that those glasses are the lenses that we look through. They're made up of our beliefs and our attitudes and our life experiences. And we see the world through these colored lenses. But radical self-awareness allows us to take off those glasses. We can look at the glasses, see what our beliefs are and what our attitudes are. And then we can look at the world with new eyes. Brahmet reminds us over and over again that we are not trying to create a certain kind of experience or have a specific feeling or a certain outcome by moving through this book. We're on a soul's journey here. These are 5 core spiritual practices that we can incorporate into our everyday life. And we just are seeing where they take us, where they carry us along our spiritual journey. We're not trying to solve a specific problem or feel a certain way or even reach a set destination. So much of what we do in life is setting a goal and trying to achieve a certain outcome. But this is not that. We set that aside and just allow the presence and power of Spirit to guide us in this journey. Right, we have already read chapters, the introduction in chapters 1, 2, and 3, and now today we're starting in on chapter 4, which is deep self-acceptance. Just a reminder, there are more books in the bookstore. I think they've run out a couple times, so there are more there now if you need one. Get yourself a bookmark on the class table that lists all the times of classes and all the Sundays that the messages would pertain to this book study. Classes are just 1 hour. We've been meeting Wednesdays 7 to 8 p.m. or Tuesday noon to 1. And they're not every week, so make sure you grab that bookmark so you know when to come. And I invite you all to come. Even if you haven't been to one yet, you can still come. Even if you can only come to one, that's fine. There's no right or wrong in how this works. In the classes, we go through some of the ideas in the chapter that we're working on. We answer questions, and I lead a guided meditation based on the practice of that chapter. So, you're invited. When my kids were little, they had these cute little stacking toys, and maybe your children and grandchildren had them too. Kind of a yellow cylinder that you'd fit these plastic rings on, and the biggest ring went on the bottom, and then another colored ring would stack on top of that. That's the way I see these spiritual practices. That big bottom ring, that foundation piece, is what we've already worked on, self-awareness. And we're going to continue to work on self-awareness. Now today we're adding in the ring, self-acceptance. The meditation that I led this morning is an example of self-awareness and self-acceptance. We spent time tuned into our breathing, into our body sensations. We were aware of the thoughts that we were thinking and any emotions we were having. Just being that aware presence that acknowledges all that, but doesn't get kind of carried away with that. I hope you liked that. It's kind of different than our normal meditation. Okay, so deep self-acceptance. What is it and how is it different than awareness? Often our self-perceptions are based on external conditioning. We get lots of messages, don't we, from our families, from our spouse, from our parents, and from our culture, movies and magazines and television, and from our teachers along the way, even from our friends. And these messages define what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, what's ugly, what's beautiful, what's right, what's wrong, what's desirable, what's undesirable. And much of that conditioning is black and white thinking, good or bad, right or wrong. We might spend a lot of time in our lives, a lot of energy, trying to measure up to some of those expectations. We might want to appear that we're put together and knowledgeable and pleasing and capable so that we will be accepted by other people. But at some point, we may wonder, am I acceptable even if I don't satisfy these outside standards? And at some point, we might wonder about our own standards and our own ideals. Are we meeting them? And if we fall short of them, am I still acceptable? Am I still okay? Self-acceptance could be as simple as a thought as, I am okay. I like who I am. I'm all right. Even if I don't meet other people's standards. But Brahmit's definition in this book takes us even farther than this. It's a step away from the ego and into our spiritual identity. He says, and I quote, "Deep self-acceptance is simply the unconditional acceptance of my present moment experience, whatever that experience may be. The self I accept is simply the sense of self I experience each and every moment." He goes on, and I love this part. "I am an ever-changing stream of experiences, and I am the unchanging witness of that stream." Isn't that good? I'm going to repeat it. I might even have you say it with me. I am an ever-changing stream of experiences. Let's say that. I am an ever-changing stream of experiences, and I am the unchanging witness of that stream. I am the unchanging witness of that stream. It's a clear and powerful way of experiencing and looking at our lives. We are that moving, vibrant stream of experience. And we are that wise witness watching that stream of experience. The internal practice of deep self-acceptance is being aware, being present in this moment to your life experience without trying to change anything, without trying to judge it or resist it or analyze it, just being aware. There may be times when that internal voice starts in. I think I talked about it being like a sports announcer, just that commentary. Can you just tune it down, become aware of it, let it go, and come back to the present moment. The external, that's what's going on inside, but the external practice is to accept your emotions, thoughts, and desires, anything like that, but then to act responsibly with that in the world. So you may be having pretty negative emotions. You might be irritated or angry about something, but what do you do with that? You maybe can work out words that you can express it to someone and know it and acknowledge it in yourself. But that expression comes out respectfully, purposefully, not in a damaging way, not in a controlling or out of control way. So if you experience, I use the example of negative emotions like anger, but if you experience intense emotions like that, you can learn ways to channel them, learn ways and tools of how to work through them so that they don't get stuffed down and they don't come out sideways or in unconstructive ways. But not all of our experiences in life are wonderful, right? Sometimes they're not so good. Some of our experiences are painful and very uncomfortable. So acceptance doesn't mean that you have to like what you're going through. Acceptance means that you're moving through this experience without resisting it and without any judgment about it. I have a friend who has just a really great way of looking at this. Instead of resisting or judging, he says things like, I am comfortable in a wide range of experiences. I'm comfortable in a wide range of temperatures. I'm comfortable with a wide range of people. You can insert whatever you want in there. Self-acceptance is not trying to live like a monk or a saint. We're not trying to copy some image of what we think is peaceful or the right way to be. All the author is asking us to do is to keep returning to the present moment, to be here now, just like Eckhart Tolle. Be aware, be a witness to your thoughts, to your body, to your breath, to your feelings. And do this while you're in meditation, and do this while you're involved in your daily life. Brahmet talks about how our conditioning leads us into thinking that our needs can only be met in certain ways. But really, there is an abundance, isn't there, of ways to get our needs met. Sometime, probably not soon enough, but sometime in my marriage, John and I realized that though we just love each other deeply and honor our relationship, we realize that we can't get all our needs met from each other. And so we need to turn to other people and other relationships sometimes for support and love and nurturing. And if we didn't do that, we would really drain our relationship. The author talks about some enemies on this path, this journey. An enemy of self-acceptance is resistance. Resistance is labeling somebody else wrong or a situation bad. It's when you start saying, this should be other than it is, or he shouldn't do that. Brahmet calls resistance the opposite of self-acceptance. And he says it shows up like intense dislike or cravings, which is really interesting because that's like a pushing away or a pulling toward. Dislike and unwillingness might appear as fear, anger, judgment, tension, denial, distancing, or just plain going numb. And they reveal a disconnection from the present moment. They reveal a turning away from your life in this moment. With deep self-acceptance, you are alive and aware and awake in this present moment. It's happening. It's here, it's now. You experience it, you acknowledge it. You know what your feelings are. You're aware of your thoughts and your body sensations. You're here, and you're honest with yourself. And you don't resist. So it's this craving part. Resistance can also show up as craving. He says those cravings are driven by unhealed wounds and unmet needs. They can feel huge, can't they? And they can lead sometimes to addiction. They can't be filled by things outside ourselves. Emotional and spiritual needs just will never, ever be satisfied by things outside ourselves. Not drugs, not money, not sex, not gambling. Nothing fills that hole but the great love that is all of us. Brahma talks about denial and spaciness and numbing out. All these can look like the peaceful calm of self-acceptance, but they aren't. They're survival skills that we have outgrown, and we can put them aside and learn this deeper way of being, this deep self-acceptance. There's a wonderful prayer in the 12-step community, the Serenity Prayer. You probably know it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is a big key in learning the difference between reacting and acting on life. While a situation is happening, we have the opportunity to choose whether to act or react. With self-awareness, we avoid those knee-jerk reactions. Instead, we pause and go within to our Christ nature, to the ground of our being. And from there, we discern whether any action is needed. Once, a long time ago, a man came before a great sage, and he said to this great sage, I will give you an apple if you can show me where God is. And the sage said, well, he smiled and said, I will give you 2 apples if you can show me where God isn't. I don't know why apples. To some of us, these 5 core spiritual practices that are described in this book might seem not spiritual. They might seem too much like therapy. And yet, we know that spirit is everywhere present. Spirit lives and moves and is our being, our mind, our thoughts, our bodies, our actions. It's all spirit. Everything about us is from and of spirit. So these core practices are part of a path of living originally, living from our origin. We begin to see and know as we use them that spirit is present in everything and everyone. So please don't get discouraged if this feels too heady or too deep, I don't know. And if you haven't read a page yet or done a meditation, oh, that's okay. It's okay. This is your path. You can read a page today if you're motivated to do that. In college, I took a tennis class. And I remember practicing the tennis serve over and over and over. And one week we were just doing the forehand, and then it was the backhand, just for days and days and days, practicing these skill sets. With repetition, each action became more natural and felt right, and you could do it easier and more proficiently. We spent weeks practicing before we ever played a game. So your assignment, should you decide to accept it, is to work with self-awareness, which is that foundation practice. Read chapter 4 on deep self-acceptance. And then incorporate that self-acceptance piece into your meditations and your daily life. Remember, you can listen to the author. He gives audio meditations. It's really easy. Just go to unitybooks.org/living. He has a meditation for each of these practices. So just stick for right now on self-awareness and self-acceptance. Don't read ahead and don't listen ahead. He wants us to take a full month with each of these, and we're going to take 3 weeks now with self-acceptance. So I invite you now to have this as your homework. Set the intention to accept yourself in all things and in all ways. Continue with your self-awareness by observing your mind and body and sensations and feelings and thoughts, and being that aware witness to yourself. I invite you to meditate every day, even if it's only just a few minutes. Try to make that a regular practice. And remember, there's no problem to solve. There's no goal in mind. Why we're doing this is just to deepen our connection with Spirit, to deepen the knowledge that we are His Christ light in the world. And we're on this journey together. And that, I think, is wonderful. So, the divine light in me recognizes that